Ah, thanks for these awesome celery stalks, AJ. No problem, Rainbow. So, you need a place to stay? If so, you're more than welcome here. Big Mac bounces back and forth from here to Appaloosa to help out with the huge orchard, and Apple Bloom will be leaving again tomorrow. I'd love the company. Gets kinda lonely in a big empty house, you know. Yeah, sure. I guess I can stay here. Rainbow was relieved she didn't have to ask, even more so that she didn't have to endure another harsh winter. Just then, Apple Bloom walked back into the room, her eyes wide as could be, tears beginning to well up. I'm gonna miss you, big sis. The two sisters shared a long embrace. I'm gonna miss you too, little one. Applejack rubbed her hoof back and forth on her head playfully. Where exactly is she going? Back to school, of course. Her running of the leaves break is over. Not that anyone ever celebrates that around here anymore. I'm sure you noticed that school officially closed down for a good year last year, didn't it? Didn't you? Can't say that I did. Can't say that I did. Rainbow Dash almost seemed not to care. So, where's she going to school now? Appaloosa? No, she's staying up with Rarity and Canterlot, Applejack said quietly. Whoa, she's actually okay with that? Rainbow was shocked at the thought. Well, that I'm not sure about. All I know is she cares enough for Apple Bloom to help her get to the best education she can get. I just don't want her ending up like me, undereducated, stuck here with no options. That's the story. What did you what did you do to get her to agree? Isn't that expensive? Applejack began to bite her bottom lip as she recalled the day. It's a long story. I'm not going anywhere. Plus, I'm dying to know got you acting so weird all of a sudden. Applejack sent Apple Bloom off to her room to finish packing her things back up, then looked at Rainbow Dash with worrisome eyes. This ain't a shining moment in my life, and I don't want you repeating what I'm about to tell you to aim for. Got it? Rainbow Dash nodded in agreement, even more anxious now to hear what she had to say. Applejack's voice got quiet. That sold sweet apple acres. What? Are you kidding me? Where will you go? Rainbow Dash was shocked to say the least. Here, let me tell you about it. Please be quiet. It'll break Apple Bloom's heart when she finds out that I don't want her being distracted at school. Rainbow leaned in as Applejack began to tell her everything there was to know. Early in the summer, 2 years ago, the Ponyville Consolidated Schools announced that due to the dwindling number of students, they wouldn't be opening the next school year. Instead, they built another wing into the Appaloosa Academy for Young Learners. Despite the name, the school has a bad reputation in several aspects, which include bullying, undereducated educators, drug trafficking, among many other horrors Applejack couldn't imagine forcing the sweet and innocent Apple Bloom into. Scootaloo, who was under custody of the county, was left with no choice but to relocate and enroll. Sweetie Belle and her parents had already moved into Canterlot the previous year with the help of Rarity. Applejack paced back and forth, racking her brain. What am I gonna do? I can't ask Rarity for help. I just can't. Applejack wrote a letter and sent it to Twilight via carrier. A couple days later, she got a reply from Twilight, and the letter appeared in purple flames in front of Applejack, landing softly on the top table. To my dear friend Applejack, I'm sorry to say that in my current situation and busy lifestyle, I'll be unable to properly care for Apple Bloom. Perhaps next year I can rework my schedules to fit in more time at home. Also, I'm currently not in a stable enough financial position to support her or help pay for her tuition. You have my deepest apologies, Applejack. Please don't be angry with me. Applejack crumpled the letter and tossed it into the fire. There was a blank sheet of paper enclosed behind the letter Twilight sent. As Applejack watched the letter burn, she began writing her reply. I'm not angry, Twilight. I'm just worried about Apple Bloom's future. I want so much for her than I ever had. If there's anything I can do in the future, please let me know right away." There was a magical rune seal on the bottom left corner of the paper. Applejack sat it down on the floor and stamped up a ruined corner with her hoof. The letter instantly became engulfed in a fiery purple aura. It rolled itself up and burst into flames. Its ash flew into the fireplace and out of the chimney. Applejack let out a long sigh, feeling depressed and beat. She crawled into bed. A few days later had passed. Applejack was watching Apple Bloom play out in the orchard with Scootaloo as the summer was coming to an end. The young fillies ran around and laughed while playing their seemingly random games. Applejack watched them smiling as they played, and it filled her heart with a certain joy. She knew that a moment like these would soon be nothing more than memories, so it would be best for now to let them enjoy them. Then a familiar purple flame flashed in front of her. A letter landed in the kitchen counter. Applejack, Rarity and I have decided it would be in Apple Bloom's best interest if she were to attend Casalie's Academy for the Arts and Higher Learning. This is a boarding school in which Apple Bloom will receive a top-notch education opening limitless career paths in her future. She will be attending with Sweetie Belle pending. She passes an interview, and her tuition is paid before open enrollment closes 3 days from now. Rarity will be on her way to pick her up after we receive your reply. Applejack's jaw dropped when she saw the noted cost of tuition for each year. Nonetheless, she was determined to see Apple Bloom succeed. She grabbed She grabbed the enclosed paper intended for a reply and began to write. Twilight, yes. My reply is most definitely yes. And I can't thank you both enough for giving Apple Bloom this amazing opportunity. It ain't going to be easy, but I'll come up with the money somehow. With a quick stomp of her hoof, the letter was on its way to Twilight. Applejack ran outside Apple Bloom. Great news, Sugar Cube. You going to fancy pants school in Canterlot with Sweetie Belle. Apple Bloom squeaked with excitement, but Scootaloo didn't see the same joy as the two ponies around her. Let's get packing. You got a long trip ahead you. The two ponies headed inside the house. Aren't you coming to help me pack, Scoot? Apple Bloom said. Nah. that was extremely manly. Nah. I have to take care of some things. I'll see you later, though. Scootaloo lied and hopped on her scooter. Then she propelled herself away. Applejack didn't realize it at first, but she knew that Scootaloo must be feeling depressed knowing she'll be attending a new school without her best friends. They continued packing. Applejack was torn between the feelings of happiness, knowing Apple Bloom was going to get the education she deserved, and feeling depression, knowing she'd be forced to miss her precious little sister. She tried not to let this bother her. She wanted to be as happy for Apple Bloom as she could. A few hours later, there was a very light knock at the door. Rarity had arrived to take Apple Bloom's Canterlot with her. Applejack let her in. Rarity had a look of disgust on her face as she looked around the quaint house. Applejack then found herself doing something more painful than she could have ever imagined. She found herself saying goodbye to her dear little sister. You be good now, you hear? Applejack began to choke up as she spoke, trying to hold her tears back. Don't worry, I will. I'm gonna miss you. Apple Bloom looked up at Applejack, eyes wide as can be. Sorrow echoed in her voice. I'll miss you too, sugar. Applejack couldn't hold the tears any longer. She tightly hugged Apple Bloom and sent her on her way. Apple Bloom then walked up to Rarity. It's good to see you again, dear, Rarity said, with a smile as she nuzzled the top of her head with her nose. Now go ahead and wait in the carriage. Oh God. Now go ahead and wait in the carriage while I discuss some things with Applejack. And do leave those bags behind. The carriage attendant will tend to those. Wow, what a high horse. Apple Bloom dropped the bags and trotted into the back of the carriage. Applejack wasn't sure if she approved of Apple Bloom doing that. She didn't want to fight Rarity right now. Now, there's a matter of tuition. I know you're a humble working-class pony and all, but it's simply not in mine nor Twilight's budget to cover it all. We've decided we can take care of half this year, and we'll color all of it the rest of her year spent in the academy. Look, I can't pay it right now, but I'll get you the money by the end of the week. I promise you that. I can give you the money left in Granny Smith's will and my profits of this apple season. I know it's less than a third of what you need from me, but please trust me. If you can cover it, it'll do whatever it takes you back. Rarity paused for a moment, looking off to one side. As she stared at the splintered floorboards, the cobweb-infested corners, and felt repulsed at the stale smell of apples and firewood in the air. Fine, but make sure to pay us back as quickly as possible. We'll be suffering without it. Rarity, thank you. Thank you so much. Applejack began to walk toward Rarity to give her a hug. Rarity put her hoof up. Stop. Oh, that's messed up. Stop. Applejack, don't get me wrong. I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for Applebloom. Unlike you, Applebloom is a pony full of potential. I hate to see it wasted on these apples. Rarity then turned and walked out of Applejack's life once again, this time with her sister. Applejack felt a sense of shame wash over her as she went over Rarity's words last time. I really have wasted my life, haven't I? Applejack thought about that fact. Then she thought about how she was going to get the money for Applebloom's tuition. There could only be come up with one answer, the answer that had been in the back of her mind the whole time. The Cloudsdale Weather Factory was an ever-expanding to meet the needs of more cities throughout Equestria. They were single-handedly dominating the weather industry. With the outstanding growth came the need to expand their storm water drainage system. Sweetapple Acres found itself in a prime location. It rested in the center of a great and shallow valley. A small creek trickled through the center. Once a raging river, large hills surrounding either side. The engineers at the factory saw great potential in creating a runway for the excess water to drain in the Great Lakes of the evergreen forest. However, this runway would require the complete leveling of Sweetapple Acres. Applejack had adamantly refused other offers to buy the property in the past, each refusal prompting a much larger offer the next week. This was her golden ticket to pay off Applebloom's tuition and buy herself a new home. By the much larger orchard in Appaloosa. The only problem was, it came at the cost of the home she had grown up on, the home she had watched her family and friends grow on. But she didn't have any other options. She contacted the offices, agreed to sell, and demolition was scheduled for 2 years after next winter. Rainbow Dash interrupted. That Rarity can be such a... Ugh. I know, Rainbow, but you see, ever since you left, me and Rarity haven't been on good terms. I'm just glad she helped at all. Yeah, I guess, Rainbow reluctantly agreed. Come with me. I need to show you something. Applebloom, come down here. The three ponies trotted outside and into the orchard. They soon reached the center of the orchard, where they found a huge apple tree. This here is the first tree ever planted in the orchard. It spawned all these trees around it. Rainbow Dash looked around, noticing that trees here weren't planted in the next formation, and these trees felt more natural, and Rainbow felt a sense of humbleness looking at the great tree. Applejack led them closer to the tree. There, she pointed out a couple of small hoof prints near the base of the trunk. Beneath were the initials AJ. Next to those were a slightly larger pair. These were big Macintoshes. Rainbow began to notice dozens of pairs of hoof prints all around the great tree as she walked around the huge trunk. I guess you can call this our family tree. Oh. Applejack laughed as Rainbow looked on in awe. Go ahead. Give her a buck, Rainbow. What, me? I couldn't. It's not really my place. Rainbow, it's just as much your place to mark this tree as any of theirs. You're as big as part of my family as it gets. Rainbow smiled and turned around, giving the tree a swift buck in the blank area she had spotted. Her hoof prints were much larger than the others around it. This was because of the tradition of the Apple family ponies to mark the tree as soon as they were old enough to. Perfect. It looks perfect. Applejack swallowed her sadness as she thought about the impending destruction of the great tree. She then messed up Rainbow's mane with her hoof and laughed. Alright, let's head back now. We need to get ready for tomorrow, Apple Bloom. Oh, and I'm sure Rarity'll be there to see you, Rainbow. Rainbow felt quite uncertain of that. She wasn't even sure she was ready to see Rarity at all yet. She knew she didn't have a choice, so all she could do was hope for the best. After all, Applejack certainly was happy to see her. Why wouldn't Rarity meet her in the same feelings? This chapter's so depressing. It's so sad. Yeah, okay. That was enough manly tears. On to the next chapter.